Welcome back to Soccer Dad Nation, the podcast where we dive deep into everything soccer, especially from the perspective of dads, parents, and coaches who are raising the next generation of soccer stars. I'm your host, Joby Slay, and today we're talking about something that's really close to my heart, the U.S. men's and women's national teams, and why it's so important for us as soccer parents to get our kids engaged in supporting these teams, especially as we head towards the 2026 World Cup. I know for me, the first time I fell really in love with the game was the 1994 and 98 World Cups as I was coming out of high school and in college. Those two World Cups really connected me to our U.S. men's national team because prior to that, I had never even seen them play. That was my first experience with the national teams and that collective U.S. soccer culture. So this episode here is not just about the game, but about family pride and development, how bringing U.S. soccer into your home can have a huge positive impact on your children, your family, and their love for the beautiful game. When I started putting this episode together, I initially wanted to provide an instant reaction to our first couple games under the new manager, Mauricio Pochettino. But then my next thought was, you know what? It doesn't matter for this conversation. Christian Pulisic, the current face of American soccer, Captain America, who earned his first cap with the national team at age 18, has had 8 different managers in the 7 or 8 years that he has been part of the men's national team. Managers come and go, styles change. That shouldn't change our love and support for our national teams. We may not always agree with the coaches, player selection, or some of what they do on or off the field, but this is our national team. If you have a problem with it, there may be things you can do, but that is a different conversation for a different time. These first 2 games of Mauricio Pochettino's tenure, you don't measure in wins or losses. We won a friendly against Panama and then lost 2-0 to our cross-border rival, Mexico, for the first time since 2019 with a kind of stripped-down squad. The team looked fatigued from a couple weeks of intense training camp with the new manager and had just played a few days earlier against Panama, so it was an admittedly poor performance, and Pochettino looked visibly frustrated on the sidelines at times, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. What was also good is that some younger players that haven't seen much playing time with the men's national team over the past few years were able to get some extended playing time with the manager, and it gave him and his staff their first opportunity to get to know our U.S. players. This will not be the team we will see in the 2026 World Cup. If Pochettino's previous managerial experience tells us anything, it's that he's willing to shake things up in the lineup and that he can put together a winning lineup in a relatively short window, which is exactly what we have leading up to the 2026 World Cup and why he is a good fit for this window. I do expect Mauricio Pochettino will move on after the 2026 World Cup in 2 years. Let's move on to why supporting U.S. soccer is so crucial for our kids in their soccer development. First of all, kids need to fall in love with the game in order to become great players. Supporting and following our U.S. men's and women's national teams is one way of fostering that love for the game and also helps build connection identity with other people who love the game. When our kids watch the U.S. men's and women's teams compete, they're watching players who represent them, who wear the same flag that flies at their schools, who grew up on the fields not too different from the ones they play on. They see themselves in these athletes. It plants the idea that they too could one day represent their country, and that's a powerful motivator. Supporting U.S. soccer gives kids real-life role models to look up to. Players who've worked their way through the youth systems, college ranks, MLS, or NWSL, and made it onto the international stage. Watching these games gives them a sense of what's possible with hard work, dedication, and love for the sport. Those of us growing up in the country pre the 1994 World Cup, we didn't have the opportunities to watch our national teams or soccer in general. I started playing soccer at 5 years old, but never saw our national team play until the 1994 World Cup when it was hosted in the United States, and I was a senior in high school at that time. That is unimaginable in the U.S. today. The U.S. women's team didn't even have a team until 1985, and our men's team hadn't qualified for the World Cup in 50 years prior to the 1990 World Cup. Those 1990 and 94 World Cup teams were also made up of mostly college kids. There wasn't a true full-time professional soccer league in the United States for us to follow until after the 1994 World Cup when Major League Soccer was founded. We have so much greater access to the game today, there's really no excuse not to be involved as a fan if you or your kids are playing the game. It's not just about what your kids do on the field, It's also about fostering a love of the game in its entirety, being a fan, learning the strategies, feeling the highs and lows of a tournament, and becoming part of the broader soccer culture, developing that passion for the game that so many other countries possess. Now we've got something truly special coming up. The 2026 World Cup is being hosted right here in the US along with Canada and Mexico. This is a once in a generation opportunity. As parents, we can make this moment even more special for our kids. The energy and excitement that's going to build around the World Cup is going to be electric. Cities all over the country will host matches, and millions of Americans who have never followed soccer closely before, not to mention the rest of the world, will be tuning in. The 2026 World Cup isn't just a tournament, it's a chance to create lifelong memories for your kids. Imagine the experience of watching a World Cup game together as a family, the drama, the excitement that comes in the game creates a deeper love for the sport. For those of us raising soccer players in the United States, getting them emotionally invested in the national teams now is a perfect way to enhance their love of the game and their appreciation for the game at its highest level. And it doesn't end with the Men's World Cup. Let's not forget our U.S. women's national team is pretty good, and we'll be playing in the Women's World Cup in 2027. Supporting both teams will build a well-rounded understanding of soccer. It allows our daughters and sons to see successful athletes on both sides of the sport. But here's where I want to dig in even deeper, because getting your kids to support the U.S. national team is not just about soccer, it's about family. Watching sports together is a bonding experience. When you sit down and watch the U.S. play, you're not just cheering for a team, you're spending quality time together. You're sharing moments of excitement, frustration, joy, and sometimes even heartbreak. These are the kind of memories that last. And for those of us raising kids who play the game, watching top-level soccer gives us a chance to teach important life lessons. It shows kids how to win with grace and how to lose with dignity, highlights teamwork and sportsmanship. They'll see players who work hard for each other and who never give up. Those are values that transcend soccer. They're values we want to instill in our kids for life. Also, let's talk about the mental side of the game. Watching these top-level matches helps kids understand the tactical and technical aspects of soccer. They may see things they've never seen before that they can then apply on their own when they hit the field. They'll learn about positioning, passing, decision-making under pressure, so the next time they play, they're not just kicking the ball around, they're thinking the game, not just playing it. Now that we know why it's important, let's talk about how to get your kids involved in supporting U.S. soccer. First, it starts with you. Make it a family event. Block off time for big matches, whether it's World Cup qualifiers, friendlies, or international tournaments. Anytime the national team's playing, it's a sit-down must-watch. We're supporting our national team. Cook up some game day snacks, wear your team's colors, make it fun. Get together with friends, go watch it somewhere. Go to live matches with the national teams are playing near you. It's an experience that will make an impact. Second, get to know the players. Talk to your kids about the stars of U.S. soccer like Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie. On the women's side, Lindsey Horan, Sophia Smith. Tell their stories. The more your kids know about these players' journeys, the more they'll feel connected to the team. My wife, when she watches sports, she loves to hear the players' stories first, and then that draws her in more to where she wants to then follow and watch the games and watch the players. During the 2022 World Cup, one of the players from my youngest son's team bought them these Panini World Cup player card books. You then buy these player card packs and trade cards with your friends as you try to fill the book with every player in the 2022 World Cup. These kids are like opening these packs, hoping to get a Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi, and it becomes really fun. But what was interesting is that these 8-year-old kids are now putting faces with names and can tell you who the backup goalkeeper for Turkey was and where he played his club ball. And they became connected the way we used to see kids become connected to baseball through trading baseball cards. Encourage your kids to follow the game. And lastly, encourage your kids to mimic what they see on the field. After watching a U.S. national team match or any match, head out with the ball. Kick the ball around with them. Challenge them to practice moves they saw their favorite players pull off. This helps them translate their passion for watching into improving their own game. The 2026 World Cup is going to be one of the most exciting times for soccer in the US in 30 years. And as dads and parents, we have the unique opportunity to use it as a platform for not only growing the game, but also growing closer to our kids through it. Let's get our kids invested in supporting US soccer, our men's and women's national teams, so they can be inspired, learn valuable lessons, and feel a sense of pride in representing their country on and off the field. Thanks for tuning into Soccer Dad Nation today. I hope this episode has inspired you to gather your family, turn on the game, and cheer on US soccer as we head towards 2026. Remember, it's not just about watching the game, it's about living it with your kids and family. Until next time, keep nurturing that love for the beautiful game. I'm your host, Joby Slay, and this is Soccer Dad Nation.